Hello there, this is Mr. Dunaway. Welcome to an introduction to Excel. You should have a worksheet in front of you, and your job is to just follow along the video and press pause as you come to the questions to fill out. Listen carefully and learn. There's a lot of detail in this particular product, which I love. It's great for numbers, organization, and it's really a really simple spreadsheet program to allow you to organize data, materials, and to do math calculations for you that you would rather not have to do on your own. And that's one of the beautiful things about it. Hopefully we'll get to see that happen before we get through the end of this particular unit. Okay, so you have this worksheet in front of you, like I mentioned. Just follow along, press pause, and please get all the answers filled in, but try to learn something as you go here. I probably will not have many questions inserted for you, although I do expect you to be stopping the video, getting things filled out, and if you don't understand something, please go back and look at it again, because it's a great program to understand what it is that is happening in it. Okay, so number one on your paper is, it says Microsoft Excel is, and before I show you that answer, you'll just notice on the picture on your screen, there are a couple of Excel spreadsheets opened for you. The first one that my mouse is moving over, that's just a blank sheet, as though that's pretty much what you would see right when you open up the program. You've got formula bars up top, editing bars. It's very similar to Microsoft Word. It's the same group, Microsoft, that made this. So there is some common features as far as appearance between Excel and Word, which is nice for us. And then down here you see a more complicated one that shows you some of the fancy features that you can use to create when you are working in it, all the way from organizing and sorting and calculating numbers here, even making graphs based on those numbers there. But for us right now, Microsoft Excel, well, what is it? It is a spreadsheet program that allows you to organize data, to complete calculations, make decisions, and graph data. So please hit pause and get all of that filled onto your paper. If you're continuing with the video, you should have number one filled out. And the next question is, it says the three major parts of Excel. Well, there are three major parts. And here again on your screen is another worksheet example you can look at. Those three major parts are worksheets, charts, and databases. Worksheets, charts, databases. Please hit pause and get that filled out. And if you're back, moving on, you have that filled out. We will look more at what those worksheets and those charts and those databases look like as we go further in this unit. Might touch upon worksheets today. Charts and databases, we won't really get into how those work until a little bit later. Moving on to question 3 for you. The maximum number of sheets in an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so before I reveal this answer, what you have here is, here's a really complicated one, fancy one. Not as complicated as it probably appears, but you have all kinds of stuff in here. It looks like it has to do with a grocery store. I don't know how much you can read on your screen, but if you look, my mouse is pointing to these little tabs at the bottom. It's kind of hard to read, but it looks like the first one that's white says inventory, and then you have grayed out, it says graphs, and the next one, I think it says description, then on and on. All of those are little tabs of sheets that you can put different data on. So it looks like this is a grocery store Excel spreadsheet where they have all these layers of sheets that help them organize their inventory. The graphs probably help them understand things that are selling quickly and what they need to order faster. Maybe if something is not selling, what they need to stop ordering. Okay, but the maximum number of sheets, well, the truth is there really isn't a maximum. It's just limited based on the available memory of your computer. I have never tried to find out how many there are, and I really wouldn't want to do that. I think you would be sitting there trying to figure that out, clicking new sheets for quite a long time. Based on anything we do, we're not even going to come close to getting toward the end of the memory that's available for us. Okay, we'll probably just be working on one sheet possibly 2 before this class is over per program. Number 4, each sheet has its own blank. It consists of blank columns and blank rows, which totals blank cells. Well, this is an interesting question for you. Each sheet has its own name, and it consists of, okay, we're going to look at some big numbers here. 16,384 columns, 1,048,384 rows. And before I go on, a column, by the way, is up and down. Okay, like see where this A is right here, that is one column. B is another column. Okay, so it says you have this many possible columns. Again, we're never going to see the end of that. And then if we talk about rows, okay, see the number 1, the lines going across the page, those are all rows. Okay, over 1 million. So if we took all of those, we figured out, well, how many cells would that be? The cell, by the way, would be where just each rectangle area is a cell. Well, what that works out to be is a very large number. It looks like 17,179,869,184 cells. In other words, a whole heck of a lot. And that's just on one sheet. Remember on the last slide we talked about how you have multiple sheets. Here you can see sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. That's what it looks like when you first open the document, and then you can rename those sheets and again put in as many as you want. So essentially you have an unlimited number of cells and rows and columns available for you. Okay, moving along. Okay, columns. Columns, again, like I mentioned on the last slide, are the up and down like rows. They go up and down. That's a column, up and down. Those are headed by letters like A. This is column A right here. This B right here, that is column B. That is column C, such and such. The rows go across. Those are headed by numbers. Okay, letters and numbers. Okay, the first column heading on this particular screen, the first column heading is A. And then if you look over here on the far right, it's slightly cut off, but you can see the last column heading, at least on my screen, is an M. Now we could, this is just a photo here, I can't actually do it on the screen, but if you were in Excel, you could click right here where my mouse is and drag that bar over, and M would just continue down the alphabet again as far as you would want to go and beyond. And then the rows, the first row heading is 1 here. And it looks like I have a typo on my presentation, but it should, that word should say row on your paper. But the first row is 1, like I said, and the last, that should say row, not column. It looks like we can get down to 25. Part of 26 is on there, but it's cut off, so I put 25. Just talking about the image on the screen right there. Again, we could drag this scroll bar down, and you could see all of the rows and more than you would possibly care to see. The intersection of a column and row. Okay, so if you notice this particular rectangle, the first one here that is kind of blacked out, if you intersect that, that is a cell. Okay, so all of those rectangles around the screen, those are called cells. Okay, so every cell has a unique address, and it's referred to as the cell reference address, and it consists of a letter and a number, like we just talked about, a column and a row that makes up that cell. It's kind of like a Cartesian coordinate plane, if you're familiar with that in math. The particular cell right here that is blacked out, or it has the black rectangle on it, that's the current active cell. That would be A1. A1, a letter and a number. That's how you identify which cell you are referring to. Okay, a cell that is currently chosen is called, I said this in the last slide, it is called the active cell. Like I said a second ago, mentioned it in the previous slide. That's the cell that is currently selected by you to input some information. Okay, there's some important stuff at the top of the screen. I zoomed into the top of the bar. Again, it looks very similar to Microsoft Word. This is an important one right here. The blank, that's formula bar. The formula bar is at the top of the screen and underneath the toolbar. We're going to be using that a lot in this class to learn how to calculate, how to make calculations using numbered data that we put into our particular spreadsheet. Okay, moving on to number 12 now. One thing that we'll be doing a lot of is putting text into the cell. And when you enter text, like letters, words, into a cell, it automatically aligns it to the left. Okay, it's left aligned there. So if you typed in your name, it would be over on the left-hand side of the cell. Okay, and then moving on to number 13. And when we put numbers into a cell, it's a little bit different. If you put any number into a cell, it actually aligns it to the right-hand side of the cell. There, and you will be seeing this soon. Okay, and lastly, it says you can use the blank or the blank to move the active cell around. And if you notice on your screen, you have that happening. You have some information getting put in, and you'll notice the numbers 10, 20, and 30. When they put that in there, that is getting justified to the right, or aligned to the right, like we said in the last cell. So it says you can use the mouse or the keyboard to move around. So you're seeing, again, a little image putting in some numbers, and that could be, as you see the black rectangle move around, there it goes again, as you see that black rectangle move around. Mouse or the arrow keys will allow you to move freely around those cells as you desire, to set it up as you want. And there's all kinds of other fun things we can do, but that's just an introduction to it. So again, anything that you didn't get filled out in your sheet, please go back and get that, because these are some basic words that you do need to know, and I'll probably check you on that at some point there. So I hope that helps give you an understanding of some things, hopefully some things that you didn't know. Maybe you learned something in this video, I hope, and make sure it's filled out, and we will talk to you soon.